Yes, people. Yeah, yes, people. I here to speak about something, and you know, I'm drinking a tea, and I always be here. So I drink. That's all. What I here to talk about is, but I'm a woodworker, furniture builder, and as an art form, right? We want to talk about and show you the importance of it in society, because you know some people think that, well, you know, that the mind alone could run society and there's no need for the hands, right? So you know, they think that. But one of the oldest ideas that man have had, when you say that he came up from the earth, on the earth, and he came onto a flat surface like flat board and tiles and a flight of stairs, you know, inside, right? He would have to have the idea of a bed. Yes, a bed, a table and a chair, right? Because I don't think, it's for me not to think that for people, all the civilizations all over the world, ancient civilizations, these people have concrete floors, and when they reach up to concrete floors and they were sitting on the floor. They would have some form of thing for them to sit on, whatever they would call it, right? And one of the ideas is a bed, because you can think about it now. If you come home and you don't have a proper bed, some people say, oh, I will sleep on the floor, but how long you will sleep on the floor? And I'll tell you when you have to, you know what I mean, reproduce. You have to come up and for the offspring and them to sleep on a bed, right? So, and woodwork was something that's very important in society, because the reality is that it's builders that has changed the idea of society. In other words, the idea of this bed here, right? This is an idea that I have in my head, right? I don't even need an image, I don't need a piece of paper, I don't need nothing. I can go into a place and build a bed, build a table, build a chair, or anywhere, without the idea, without it written in any language. So that is to show you, that's number one thing to show you. And you need a bed. So if we have a bunch, if we live in here, right, and we have all these high-rise going up, and all these low-rise, and all of them is going to need a bed. All of them is going to need the idea of a bed, right? And I don't think that the society is going to make much sense if we say that, all right, we are educated in everything else that we cannot build, right? That we cannot produce, right? And we forget the idea of using our hands. I keep telling people that is the idea. Think about 1 million people in a country, and we have to import all the beds, and we have trees. So I mean, that is some thought that people have to put into, and we have to work mind hand. You know, so the mind have to work, and the mind can't work by itself. It can work by itself, but that is something that is one-sided for you to get a proper, you know. Because if I just think of this bed and I didn't have it in my hands, you can see the bed, because it would be an idea in my thought. You understand? So, even as we have a society here now, right? And in terms of existence, or documenting ourselves while we're here, it is the hand that is going to be. Think of us 50 years down the line and we have nothing that we can build, nothing. How do we document ourselves as Trinidad and Tobago? And the basic functions that we have, right? You know, what we need. You need a bed, you need a table, you need that. You need that. That is something that you need. Everybody, even if you go to Mars and you're supposed to sleep in gravity, which I don't know, anyhow, I don't say I say that. But anyhow, even if wherever you go, you're going to need a bed. You need a bed. So I think instead of Trinidad and Tobago, just think about it. If we had, think about if I had 100 people, we had 100 people that can make beds like these. You know, this is a bed, right? For our society, you know, think about it. That's employment for 100 people. And the reality is that if they could make it like this, because they can't mass produce this, and these beds are strong, as I always tell people, this is the back of the bed, right? And it's a sleigh bed. right? And we have people, that is employment. That is employment that people can build on it. You understand? I keep telling people it is builders like myself that change the look of society. You understand? It's people that give you the idea of your clothes, how you should look, how inside a house should look. You know, I can redesign a house by redesigning the bed, redesign everything. I can build a whole house. Everything. That is reality, and builders can do that. So I cannot see how, you know, some people would think that you could function without the idea of the people using their hands where you are here. Because the mind, you know, we need each other. I keep telling people, I am not up here to tell nobody how to run things or I am a tradesman. How you expect me to come up here to even, in terms of express myself, that how things can help? I cannot come and tell you through education because I'm not an educated man. I do the job that the profession that I do. It is not a profession that is considered to be, but it was documented in the good book. The one learned woodwork from his father, plain propellers, molds, boxing, everything was wood. It was wood. That's how it was. Whether or not that's how it was taught to me by the ancient ones, or the older ones, or however you want to call it. You understand? What man would it be writing on? What? On the ground? In the mountain, just like how it is now when you walk in your backyard? What they would be if they didn't have these things. So that is one of the basic ideas that pass it even on through language. Because you know they said it was translated as the idea of a bed state. Where it's considered to be, who is considered to be, what is that with that whole thing down there with all the people, them, right? Because I don't want them to say I say, but down there where they find and all, they had the idea of a bed. That is one of the ideas that was going to go all the way through, because man has to lie down and he has to sit down to take any of his functions. It can be in steel, it can be robotic, but it started from the idea of a bed, a wooden bed. That is one of the oldest ideas. It surpassed language, what is considered written language, figurative. That is reality. Whether some people might want to give you an example. Right? You know, as I tell people, I try to break it down to some, you know, language has a barrier to you know, because you can't tell me that if you study, you're educated in Trinidad, you can talk to a man from China and he's not to understand. Don't matter what you say. But from the time they put any trade man in terms of woodwork, in terms of tools where they have into the same room, none of them don't have to speak. They just pick up things and work. Right? And one of the things about art and woodwork and builders is the idea that we recreate things. And one of the things that you have to always remember is that that's what you need in people, that we recreate something, because I mean most of our actions is based on the language that is given to us. So we can't do what we read, right? Or hear. That is reality. Whoever wants, however, you can't, because most of your functions is based on something that you was taught. That is reality. People telling you all over the world, all the groups telling you, all of these people telling you. So you know that. Do you understand? So then you know that the idea of your hands, that is one of the only things that I can recreate this 100 times. In the same way that it is, you know, and recreate, and it doesn't have a word to say how it's going to be done. It's something that isn't taught. It's something that is a thought process. That is how builders function. All builders, all artists. That's why they come up with new ideas. Because they don't use what is considered to be language to create across the board. Right? So I am up here just trying to show us, because I mean here to, although get me wrong, I'm not interested in who, nothing. That has nothing to do with me. That real talk for that has nothing to do with me. I live in Trinidad, them things have nothing to do with me. Who's supposed to do? I am here as a builder, showing what, leaving information for people that are after me. I don't need nobody to help me because I'm doing this. And I'm on the world stage. And I'm telling the fellows from the other parts of the world, or you build furniture and we like that. We like the idea of that. We like what you've been doing, but I keep telling you don't control it. Because I can build a bed, and somebody from this part can lie in, based on our culture, based on things that are. Because these ideas have been there in all the civilizations, that they say, aliens come and help them. Aliens. Yeah, aliens help them build it. So if I can see this idea there, You know, and even the language that controls my function, how I move and how I think. No. It was not in existence, and these people had the idea of a bed and I can build it. By seeing it, I can reproduce, I can, you know. Good enough. So I think that we you know, in Trinidad we have to be able to start to work more mind-hand. Because it's good for everybody, more carpenters, more joiners, for the interior decorators, for the people who want to document yourself, because I tell you that is the only way you're going to document your existence. It's the only way where you want to, about somebody build your whole house comes from somewhere else. And you have people here that can create things for you the way you want it, to pass it down. I've been doing antique furniture for plenty of years in Trinidad, and I see people who had it handmade for their family, and it's here 100 years after. That's part of them. And they pass it down, and that's how it goes down. Because it was built specifically for them. And this is not mass product, you know. All I am saying that I think that we need in Trinidad here to think, because the builder was first. That is reality. Because you can't tell me, you can, lots of things you can explain to me. You understand? You can't explain nothing. You can, because steel had to be melting, and somebody say, well, you have to shave on the face, I will touch that, because you know I'm going to be no one. It's just a different look. When I was young, I shaved all this time in my head. I grew it with plaits and top. When I was younger, I didn't have so much hair on my face, so now when I reach older, I say, well, I can shave it out again and look like, but I don't want to do that. So I go, sir. And then on top of that, before steel was invented, what man was doing? But he was using conch shell and shaving it off. But then you have to show me how that was done. But you can see it in language. I'm just, you know, I don't get it. That's for some people who tell you you have to shave and thing. I know you have to function. You have to put on your next hair. I know that. But don't tell me that it goes back and I have to shave it off all the time. And when I was 5, it didn't go. I was 10, 15, it didn't go. That's something for you to think about. Unless you can show me how you was going to do it in your natural form, then I know that's the idea of another man. That's to wrap up the bare thing. But I don't different look now, you know, I shave, I get old, that's reality. You understand? So, we need to adopt the idea in Trinidad and Tobago, because on the world stage you are seeing thousands, and I keep telling you, why would the first world countries invest so much time, the people that are there, to put their imagery up there doing furniture? I keep telling you, we cannot produce cars and computers. We can reprogram them, but we cannot take them from the raw like wood. And everything up here is a competition. You know, once you're on YouTube, somebody, you know, and woodwork and artwork, and these is things that you can go up there and the youth can see themselves competing with people on the world stage, because that is the reality. If you don't know what you're doing and you put your furniture on YouTube, somebody's going to write some form of foolishness on the bottom of it. And I expose myself there for that. That will know, really. And then if they do, I have the only video to date on YouTube how to cut fretwork, and we had it in the hundreds in Trinidad here, all on the buildings. It's art from Trinidad, but we cut it down, we throw it away. But I have the only video there reminding people that this is where we had our own idea of that. You know, I've heard people did, you know, that is part, I mean, we don't have to use all, as tell people, we don't have to use all, but over our doorway, to keep the idea that we had builders here. We had people that were thinking. That is how everything is. It was a thought process. That's how even language was formed, because most people who speak about language and talk all these things about language, if I give you a pen and tell you, give me a figure and a song behind it, you can't. And most builders can't do that. So these are things that I think that we should, you know, the society should be based more on between a matter of mind and hand. You know, they need to work together. So the man who has to run the system, he does his thing when the day comes. And while he does his thing, you know, he comes home, he wants an idea, he goes to the man, and he pays him. And he, you know, because he sees him as somebody else is important, because you can't build a bed. I keep telling people, you cannot build a bed, and you need a bed, and a table and a chair. And more, what is considered to be in modern society, you need these things. This is not something that you need it. You have to have it. You have to have a bed. What are you going to do? Go up to the elevator, to the top floor in the penthouse, and you have everything and don't have a bed? That makes no sense. So you need it. And you're going to spend most of your life on it. And when you're old, that's where you're going to spend some people right there. And then if you pass it to, and that's how it goes down. And that's how it has always been. So you have to include tradesmen and listen to tradesmen as a solution, because if you get 100 joiners in Trinidad, that's just 100 less people for you to process. It's 100 just headache. You know, even the man who, when I say, the man who is whoever and whatever, he would like to know that my son could build a bed and all across the board. That is an idea that you should not take out of society. I am just an idea telling you that it's something that you should bring back. Because if you want to really help people, you can't do that with mind alone. You have to use the hands. You have to find a way to occupy the hands of these youths. Because somebody else is making the minds. You are not thinking, people. Why? Some. So if we have, I tell you, you can lessen the numbers. Because people being born every day. So the same amount of people here at 100 years. So we're not planning for that. You wait until we break out in all chaos and unlucky before you tell a man, you can pick up a jack plane boy and go, listen to me, go by somebody. Have it all in the communities and look, you learn to use that and use your hands and you can get $1 from it. Nah! So you gotta pick up the pounds of steel and you know how it sounds now, it goes rah! For all who know. So think about these things when we are thinking about ideas to help the youths. The only idea that it has to come down to the physical form. It cannot always be in the mind. So you need to listen to people across the board, welders, joiners, all form of people with their hands. So when you listen to these people and you hear what they have to say, you can come forward with an idea. This is just an idea I'm giving to you. If it makes no sense, I'm on YouTube. You can say you don't know what you're speaking about. And guess what? I can get away with it because some people say that I'm a madman. So that's the next name, Mad Woodworker, because that's a good name. Mad Woodworker from Trinidad. But the point that I'm trying to show you is that if the rest of the world, that is first world, considered, because we all have trees, are still keeping the idea and the function of using your hands, I would think we should. So, most youths now, don't study where they're telling you. Find someone and learn to make a bed, because you will need a bed. You know, you might be a millionaire, because I ain't close to that.